Hello everyone, this is Charlotte and this is a podcast called Chatting in Cars. This is where I talk about random topics as I drive to work. This is the first podcast in about a week I've done because I've been somewhere else. So, hope you enjoyed the break. I didn't. Not a great school, I don't know. Right, there is a disclaimer at the start of this podcast because I do talk about sensitive topics and I do swear a lot. So if you don't want to hear me swearing or talking about random topics, which never really start on one topic and stay on one topic, I tend to ramble because I'm old as fuck. I suggest changing the topic or going into something else. There's a lot of good documentaries on YouTube at the moment, so I've been binging on those. Nothing much on Netflix and shit, so I'm like... Anyway. Or Prime as well. Not great. Plus the buffering shit. So anyway, so the topic for today is what did I say? Sexiness. I don't know that one. I don't know why I picked that one. Yeah, alright. It's an interesting topic. Because it plays into vanity. I know biologically speaking we all have some element of ego which tells us that we need to look a particular way in order to promote some kind of DNA, you know, ooh, horrible intersection, sorry. You know, we need to provide some kind of means to get our DNA out there and spread, and I think honestly sexiness is tied in with that. From what I've understood, that what we find attractive in people most of the time is either a combination of pheromones or a recognition of phenotypes that are used to that are deemed by our brain to be valuable. I say valuable, or you know, easy to promote the certain DNA strands that we want to for the next generation. So I'm like, okay, that's why I need tall people, because I'm short. I need my kids to survive. No. I don't know about that, man. I'd say there's something more along the lines of like cultural input as well there. A lot of people are sort of conditioned to believe particular ways of being, looking and doing and existing are more attractive or sexy than other ways. You know, they told us for a long time that in health terms it was sexy and healthy to have a tan. Like, these are the people that sit in the sun. First of all, I haven't got the Ooh. See, I left my house again, didn't I? You want to die. I want you to too. Let's go with this. But I was told, you know, that having a tan would be sexy because it's deemed attractive. It also implies culturally that you've got more leisure time. Currently, that's changed over time. Because, you know, anyway, I'll explain in a second. You've got more leisure time to go to the beach and relax and do all these things, so apparently that's more attractive. Although, give it 100 years ago or so, having a tan was deemed as unattractive. People with pasty skin were prized because it meant that you didn't have to do anything like hard labour. You could just sit in your mansions, your Georgian mansions usually, and do sweet fuck all. Lily white hands, for example, on a woman were highly deemed attractive in the sort of medieval era, because it meant that you never left the house and you never had to lift a finger for anything. Your hands were always soft and white. Long nails. Is that considered sexy? I don't know. In the Victorian era, even showing your ankle was deemed, you know, inflaming your ardour. So things have changed over time. The cultural influences on what we deem sexy is somewhat biased in this count. I mean, I still don't think Brad Pitt's a sex symbol. I don't think he was a sex symbol when he was younger either. I think he looks like a, you know, squinting thumb. You know, it's like, why are you Get your eyes checked, mate. Why are you always squinting? Do you need glasses? He has glasses. I just don't think he wears them. That's just vanity. So, you know, I have them. I don't want to wear them. Put contacts in then, because you're really fucking up your eyes. But yeah, that's just a sexiness. It's got to be cultural influence. I mean, there is that element where you will tend to... I mean, it goes either way, doesn't it? Either you go for the anomaly, like most of the time I go for the anomaly. I don't think Henry, dare I say it, am I going to get backlash for this? I don't think Henry Cavill is anything particularly special physically. He just looks Caucasian to me. I'm like, yeah. It's like, we got a lot of those, they're just not famous. You go through Scotland, you'll find a fuckload of them. They're all square-jawed and tall and wide. You go up in the Highlands, you want a Henry Cavill, go and get one over there. Pretty much. They might be a bit hairier, a bit rougher, you know. But, you know, generally he's one of them. I'd say he's definitely got a strong lineage or something in there like that. I go for the anomaly, like Keanu Reeves is like I think he's half Hawaiian, and his mum's like a Cockney white or something like that. And I'm sitting there going, see, that's interesting, because you've got a mix of like completely opposite cultures there. That makes that one attractive to me. But again, if you go through Singapore, you've got the dual ethnicity as well mixed in quite commonly, so that's a nice little population there if you want to find I suppose a K-pop kind of boyfriend. I don't know, if that's what you're into. But what is sexy? I mean, most of all for me, because I'm a demisexual person, it's more who I'm with anyway. I'm attracted to who I'm with. But if you manage to find a way to get into being with me, it tends to be basic shit like cleanliness, being a nice person. I don't give a fuck if you got abs, quite frankly. I don't at this point. When I was married, my ex-husband had abs. He was built like Captain America because that was his aesthetic, but he was also, you know, self-centered Nazi. Maybe. No, I don't know. Sort of narcissistic. You know, he's just really self-centered, and he spent the majority of his time towards the end of the marriage just obsessed with what his body looked like, and it was like, well, clearly you got no time for anyone else except yourself, so what's the point of this? That was deemed very unattractive and definitely not sexy by the end of it. As I'm getting older, I'm finding things like fidelity incredibly sexy. I would take yeah, they're doing it today, aren't they? Land Cruiser. Why did I leave the house? I keep doing this. I keep leaving my house and expecting there not to be idiots. I'm always optimistic. It's like I've forgotten they exist. Groundhog Day. Bill Murray, awesome movie, go watch it. But you know, so what is sexy? Confidence. Confidence at this age. Show me that you know how to cook and clean and do the basic shit an adult should do. Not just because you got an innie or an Audi, you know? So I don't care what importance you placed on your genitals, as long as you can work in spite of them, I guess. It's like functionalism. I don't, and I wasn't raised with the shallow shit where aesthetics were the be-all end-all either. My mum was very much emphasizing the fact of, I want to see what you can do, I don't give a fuck what you look like while you do it, but I need that, I need you to have that skill, and I need you to be able to get to the end zone. Sort of like a Machiavellian means to an end sort of thing as well, in a sense. It's like, I don't care how you do it, just get there. It's like, okay. Which is helpful. So if I can find that in another guy, well, actually, probably that would end me up with like a serial killer or something, I guess, probably. There's a chance of that. I probably won't emphasize that, but confidence in a man is always sexy. My sister's got a really good one, actually. My older sister, his name's Mick, and he can build things with like anything. She wanted benches for her shed, she wanted cupboards and shit like that. So physicality of being able to create, which is often deemed a feminine trait, the creation trait, whereas men are seen as destructive, which I don't believe wholly. I think there's an element of both in masculine and feminine. And I'll go into that podcast later on, because I do like talking about those elements. But a man who can actually make things and do things, because I'm pretty crafty myself. If I can find like a male version of that, it'd be pretty interesting. Like I was raised with my brother doing Warhammer. I consider that crafty. People sit there and scoff and say, well, it's nerdy. I'm sitting there going, it's craft. It's just a version of craft. I don't understand why this is a weird thing. Would you rather woodworking or metalworking? This is painting. It's just painting. I don't. And some of the bases and things they come up with and stuff, the settings they put the little figurines on and stuff, it's pretty interesting, creative, and the techniques they use interests me because I paint, and the color schemes, and it's all interesting to me. So I don't understand why people give them shit for that. I suppose it's because it's deemed like a toy. It's just an activity. I don't see it as a toy. And it's a very expensive toy if it is a toy, you know? Guys going into debt over the amount of greys they've got stacked up in boxes in the shed. It's like, I'm going to paint them one day. It's like, will you? They still got their they hold their value as long as they stay in the box. So even if you don't paint them, guys, you're fine. They hold their value. Although Warhammer's got to stop changing their stories and shit. My brother's getting pissed off because they changed the something about the storylines, and all the figures or the storylines or the figures or something are redundant now. They just don't fit in with the current, and it pissed him off. And I'm sitting there going, "You're so angry of this stuff." I was like, "Oh, that's cute." He was so angry. It's funny. He said it was some kind of thing where they were trying to milk the Warhammer fans for more money because they changed all the figurines or something like that. And I can understand that because they do that with everything, not just, you know, some companies. I mean, they did it with The Sims, for Christ's sake. How many Sim packages and mods and shit did they do with that? Just to milk it for money. Like, they'll put something out in beta and then expect people to add buy-ons, add-ons, mods to try and finish off the package. We all know it's a marketing pitch. It's a way to milk more money out of them. It's consumers and capitalism, you know that. Sony's been doing it for years. You can only buy Sony products to get into the Sony stuff. It's like Apple's terrible. It's like when they released all the iPads and MP3 things, iPads, you could only use Apple stuff on them. I think you still only can, actually, which is annoying because there's a whole sort of hybrid of everybody using all different kinds of technology. Hybrid? Everybody's just, it's eclectic. Nobody's sticking with one particular form of technology because it's stupid and doesn't actually work. It's like when you're coding and you only use one type of code, it's not going to work. You've got to be able to use all different kinds. Adaptability. What I don't understand is why they don't make like a universal code that just is all technologies. It's strange. Anyway, I've had this conversation with someone I don't like, so I'm not having this conversation again. Fuck you. But you know, it's what is sexiness? Competence, intelligence, somewhat intelligence, common sense is sexy as fuck. If you can initiative, oh my god. A guy that understands that something might happen a particular way if they fuck up. Foresight. It's like you're all these shallow girls in their 20s going, I want someone with abs. I want someone with a big crank. I'm like, I want a man with initiative and confidence. But yeah, I mean, there is an element somewhat of physical side of things, of course, because, you know, you've still got to be able to want to bang the person you're with. But at the same time, it's not the be-all, end-all. As you get older, there's more what can they do rather than what are they. You know, what do they look like? It's like and a lot of women or people, I should say, not just women, are conditioned to believe that it's got to be something to do what can you provide. And I'm sitting there thinking, if you were an adult in your own right, you wouldn't need someone to provide that shit for you. You just don't do it yourself. Relationships should be two independent people coming together, providing for themselves in order to create joint projects with any kind of overflow that they've got. It is strange for me that a woman or anyone would rely on another person financially. I just wasn't raised that way. Some people are. Some people are, I would say, what the version of traditionalists is, where one of them stays in the house and the other goes out and work. But I'm sitting there thinking, we've got so many structures in place these days that even if you did have kids, by the time they get to 5, you can put them into schooling and it's done. You can get on with your life and have an independent life of them for at least 8 hours, right? Whether you're male or female. So you could have a job in there. You could do all these things. It seems a cop-out, but I could be wrong. I don't know. Some people are different. Obviously, I might be getting the wrong end of the stick there. It just seems irrational to me. But I haven't got kids. But again, if they're in the schooling system, then you wouldn't see them for 8 hours. So what are you doing for 8 hours? Anyway. Sexiness, confidence. Let's get back to that because I could whinge about that all day. Physical. As I said before, like growing up, my first husband. I keep saying that. My ex-husband. When I first met him, I was 17. And there's always things like previous experience with the person, the sex you're trying to attract at the time. That changed, which can shape what kind of person you're aiming for as well. Like growing up at 17, I was looking for a safety. Consciously or subconsciously, I needed someone who would protect me, because at the time, the environment I existed in was incredibly abusive. The father figure wasn't there. He was physically there, but it wasn't in a good way. It was actually very confrontational, aggressive, and what felt like dangerous way. Not in a good way. He was meant to be sort of like a male, solid figure. Men are meant to be like the safety. You know, if someone attacks you, go and stand, you know, behind them or under their legs or something, and you know. And my choice of boyfriend at the time, who later became my husband, was he was 6'1" and he had broad shoulders. He was skinny, but you know, it was still that size to my mind that made me think, oh, he's attractive. He was an alright face. You ever looked at Andrew Tate? And this is going to sound horrible. Look at Andrew Tate when he was in his boxing era with the little fluff on his head. Spitting image. Skinnier maybe, I don't know. But he looked like him. And I'm sitting there, when I saw that footage, I'm like, fucking hell, they've cloned him. That's not good. Also a Sagittarius, scary. Must go with the body type, I don't know. But I wonder if he's an arrogant shit too. Scary. But you know, and he filled out the same way as well, actually, funny enough. So it might be something in the DNA there. But you know, I looked at that and I said, this person's going to be able to protect me, consciously or subconsciously. And of course I was wrong, because he turned into like a selfish, arrogant asshole, where I wasn't particularly protected, and I wasn't protected from him. So what I deemed at 17 to be attractive was more based on physicality than it was on actual actions matching words or my appropriate needs at the time. I was very naive in my assumptions that this person would be a good thing for me, when realistically he fed on what my parents had already preconditioned me to be and do, which was a subservient young girl, compliant, whatever they wanted me to do. He loved it because it meant he had a little pet to follow him around and tell him how wonderful he was. So didn't bother getting to know me, not really. I was happy with the surface level of the interactions. Never questioned anything about my childhood or what kind of trauma or anything I'd come from. I was honestly, I feel like I was just something to be customized like a pet. It's like you don't understand what the relationship is until you had to actually question your position in it. At one point later on in the relationship, he asked me, why do you love me? I'm like drawing a blank with my little autistic brain. I'm going, because you go with it when you're young, and you carry on so long because it's just familiar, don't you? And it was codependent to a degree. I needed him to tell me who I was, because I'd left my parents because they were abusive, and I relied on him to tell me who I was, and it was terrible because I never actually bothered developing my own sense of identity. So his controlling ways, whether it was overt or covert, most of the time it was covert. Sometimes he said I wasn't allowed to do things because, you know, I was a girl, or because of some shit. Like he said I wasn't allowed to get my bike license because I was too small, and I'm sitting there thinking, I'm your age, you should not be telling me I can't do anything. You're not a parent. Even if you were a parent, I'd still not listen because you haven't got the background and established authority. So, oh shush, I have eyes, come on. But there was a lot of, it wasn't a case of I don't think you should, it was a case of you are not going to. And I went with it because I thought, you know, I'd be safe in his judgment, and because I was still mentally a child in essence. parts of my brain will never actually mature. So I found that I mistook, I should say, that controlling attitude to be more of a leadership thing. It's not a leadership thing. He didn't know where the fuck he was going with his life. He just liked that he had someone compliant to his wishes. Even now, he's probably still floundering. I haven't seen him in 5 fucking years. Like, you're probably living in a van somewhere. But, you know, I took that security, that assumption that controlling mechanism was a form of confidence and leadership, and he knew what he was doing, he knew the best for me, and he was protective of me. When in reality, he was sitting there telling me I couldn't do things. He wasn't suggesting, he was telling me I wasn't allowed to do things, because it was a means of control. It was, I've got a power trip over you, I'm saying you're not allowed to do this. You're parenting your wife, essentially. That's not good. That's cutting out the legs from underneath them and saying, I know best, and if you disagree, I'm going to control you into the situation anyway. No, you don't get to do that. That's not respecting them as an autonomous adult. That's childing them. You're infantilizing them. And so I became heavily reliant on his judgment and his input in telling me who I was and what I was going to do and all this bullshit. And I sort of lived to please him, which is toxic as fuck, because it meant that I was throwing myself away a lot of the time to, you know, try and keep him happy. And I lived and breathed for him. And when he left, probably with someone else, my life fell apart and I lost all sense of identity. So, you know, things like that will shape how you find someone sexy. It's like, would I allow someone to control me now? Fuck no. Fuck no. Fuck no. Fuck no. I had a crush for a millisecond on a Japanese bodybuilder. I used to go to the gym with my old gym. Back when I was living in my old town after I'd broken up with my ex-boyfriend. Because I go through, like, I'm such a lover girl. I go through crushes where I've pictured our whole life together when in a span of 10 minutes I'm going, ooh. That's the problem with being a diehard romantic. But this guy seemed nice. He was clean. He went to the gym and he did all these things. And then one time we were hanging out together and he tried to get me to squat. And I'm like, but he touched me. And I'm like, look, you can give me verbal advice. Don't ever fucking touch me without consent. Don't ever. And it turned me off him completely. And he's a personal trainer or something. I'm going, he's a big guy. He knows what he's doing. I'm sitting there going, I should be able to take your advice, but the fact that you have made physical contact has completely broken the illusion I had about you. I no longer find you attractive or sexy. I cannot believe you fucking did that. But all he was adjusting my form. And I'm like, why did you touch me? Why did you touch me? All that future gone. You were no longer sexy in my eyes. So I ended up ditching him and avoiding him as much as possible after that. I'm like, you broke the bubble. It has to come from me. I have to touch you. Other than that, it's creepy stuff and I don't like it. So there's conditions to sexiness for me. And that's trauma-based as well. I know that's trauma-based. Part of me is still trying to protect myself from further sexual injury, to be honest. I've already been assaulted, I've been raped, I've been sexually assaulted. The idea of someone touching me, even if it's just a hug, unsolicited, it's like, fuck no, get away from me. So whoever I end up with has got to be very fucking careful. But then again, once you're in. So it's tricky maneuvering your way into what I deem attractive and worthy of a relationship with a person, you know. I feel sorry for the next person too. It's not like I'm avoidant where I'm going to kick back and tell you to fuck off and stuff like that, but at the same time, it's approach with caution, you know, gingerly. You're working against my own protective mechanisms and they are fierce. So don't touch me. Don't touch me unless I touch you first. It's kind of like a fight, really. You're not allowed to punch them back unless they punch you first. But at the same time, you know, it's good for you, I guess, because you know your boundaries, you know your limits. It does make it a bit riskier though, because I do tend to not let people get near me if they've fucked up. Even on a small thing like that, it's like, no. You touched me and I didn't like it. Nope. And for some reason it encourages them to chase you. I don't understand that, because then he followed me around the gym for like ages. I'm going, I'm actively avoiding you. Like, he would go in, because it was like a corridor to get to the toilets, he would go in one end and I'd be like scooching out the side. I'm going, I don't want to go near it. That is a trauma response. That's trying to avoid the situation, and it just fills you with internal screaming and cringe the entire time. Like, you walk into the gym and you'll see him in the distance, you'll go, fuck. Like, I don't want to do this, and then you got to do the fake, hey, you touched me. As I said, approach with caution. I'm mental. Just bearing in mind though, no one ever is gonna cheat with me. Like, I'm never gonna cheat with another guy because I can't fucking stand them. So I don't hate men, I just don't want unsolicited touching. Even if it's done in like a friendly, nonchalant way, it's no. Nope. You will not find me to be the girlfriend that hangs off other people. It's like, nope. Not doing it. That's why I got pissed off with the other girls in that social group. I'm going, you are just setting yourself up for a fall so bad. I'm like, you know what? You'll learn through experience. Let's go with that. You'll get there in the end. You're a bit thick, but you'll get there in the end. Dumb. Anyway. No, I just don't do touchies. No touchies. No touchies. Throwing off the Empress's groove. No touching. But it's a protective thing. It's not like, the guy was really nice too, and I felt bad because he was like gentlemanly and everything, but it's that split second of a mistake and you're like, no. It's like, I'm sorry dude, but you noped out right out of there. It's like, but that's the history of being fucked over by men in general. So this is what guys these days are working with, and it's tragic for them because they could be the nicest, softest guy. But you've got a shitload of girls that have just got perpetually fucked over by guys. And it sets us all up for a fall. But that's the same way as well for guys as well. Because guys get fucked over by girls, and that's how you become avoidant. And you just don't want anything to do with anyone. You'd rather be hanging out with your bros and just going to the gym or doing whatever guys do, you know. Girls become a mess and a fuss. And you get in your head about how it would suck, and it's a burden at the end. It's just an energy draining burden to even consider being in a relationship, because it's just I just can't be bothered at this point, you know. And it's that series of damaged people damaging other people because they're fucked in the head. The difficult part is trying to negotiate that in your own mind, that not all people are like that. Like, I know I've got in my head, and I keep telling myself every time I find someone who fucks up, that not all guys are like my ex-husband, not all guys are like my ex-boyfriend, not all guys are like my dad. There are examples, thankfully, where guys are like my brother, who is absolutely upstanding, gentlemanly, doesn't do anything inappropriate or anything. The only like inappropriate thing he does is on occasion smoke weed. So they go, well, I know I'm not going to do one of those again, because the last ex-boyfriend was a weed smoker. I'm like, no, I'm good. Just no. I'm just going to stay well away from anyone who does any kind of drugs, whether it's legal or not legal. So you come to know yourself and what you deem as sexy. Like, I know I would not date a smoker again, or a drinker. I mean, I don't mind them socially drinking every now and again, but this guy was drinking all the fucking time. I'm going, we spent more time in the pub than we did at home. It's just, and the people were scummy. I'm going, dude, would you bring a kid here? Why the fuck are you bringing me here? Like, what the fuck, man? It's like the bar lifestyle, for example, is dedicated to getting drunk and getting laid. That's why I don't like it, because it's damaging in itself. It just sets you up for a fall. There's a lot of opportunistic crap going on where people get exploited because they're under the influence and they're vulnerable, and it's a cult. All the spots are taken. but it's like a culture of just being an asshole, and you're supposed to just have fun because it's, you know, deemed appropriate for your age. I'm sitting going, I don't want to, because it's shit. I don't like alcohol. I don't like what alcohol does to people. I don't like that people seem to take liberties with it. And have no problem hurting other people with it. That bugs the shit out of me, to be honest. So I won't date another drink. I don't like guys will sit there and brag about, like I was watching this Henry Cavill thing this morning, and he's talking about how he was going to order his ideal night or whatever, is ordering a shitload of Chinese during the day and then ordering a pizza or something like that. And I'm going, oh, okay, so I could do this. This sounds fun. And then he started going on about how he's drinking like a pint of whiskey or whatever the night before and shitloads of beer. And I'm sitting there going, well, that's a turn off. So no. No, I don't mind eating food. But when it comes to things like alcohol, smoking, drugs, no. That's not sexy. That's just you being a retard. Well, I wouldn't even say that because I think they're quite smart and they wouldn't. So everybody's different, I've got to say it. And, you know, you got to pick your poison. But at the same time, it's probably safer to lean towards people that have got less negative influences. I would say if you're attracted to people with things like drug addiction or the so-called bad boys, I would say you've got some issues. I mean, we make a joke about it these days, but you should probably address those issues because it's not going to get any better, and that's just saying that you deserve that kind of treatment, which chances are you don't. You're just setting yourself the level of that. As well as culture telling you that bad boys are attractive, you know, since the Grease era. Oh my god, John Travolta is such a bad boy, he treated her like shit and she came running. That's toxic as fuck, because then she took up smoking and probably slutting around like the rest of the girls in the pink jacket group. I liked that movie growing up, but I've found as an adult it's very toxic. So it's interesting to reassess these things as you get older. I don't know, man. Try and find healthy sexy. Okay, just that's all I'm saying. Wholesome sexy. You'll find that it's easier to find wholesome sexy as you get older because you're less tolerant of the bullshit. Yeah, it does get easier. Because at some point you're gonna find slutty girls just fucking annoying, or player fuckboys is just irritating as shit and draining. So it does happen. It's called maturing. I'm gonna leave it there because I've got to go into class. It's already 10 past. I'm hoping you have a fantastic day. It's Monday, Moon Day, so we're just gonna take it easy and see what happens. I think with this. Try and bend with the wind if you're feeling very readish, or if you want to go Bruce Lee, you could be like water. Be like water, my friend. And I'm like, yeah, man. So we'll see how we go. Take it easy, and I'll do another one tomorrow. Yes.